know the story of Princess Issa. In myth, she was called the Redeemer. It was said that this child would stop the madness of war. That she was this usher in a new age of peace and compassion.
Issa is more than the daughter of the royal family, but the question remains, who is Issa? And what is she? Princess Issa was the daughter of King Karathon and Queen Karathon. Issa's birth changed the heart of her father, where he once saw only expansion in the name of the Mother World, but his daughter gave him hope for a more compassionate, peaceful universe. Arthur eventually became Issa's protector, witnessing things about Issa that she couldn't explain. Things that aligned with the legend of the ancient queen, for which Issa was named, who was said to bring life and who would supposedly be reborn across the generations. At Issa's coronation, her first royal act was to dedicate the last dreadnought in the name of peace, calling it Peacemaker. The Mother World's expansion would stop at this ship so that the universe could thrive without the burden of the Mother World's influence. It was here on this ship that Belisarius waited for the royal family's arrival. The Peacemaker had no Kali, as Belisarius had no intention of finishing a ship in Issa's name. Belisarius and his men killed the king and queen, while Arthur, Issa's trusted guardian, pointed her gun at Issa. Issa's final words were of forgiveness, as Arthur fired on her. Her forgiveness inspired Arthur to flee from the Mother World and become better, returning to her birth name Cora, and eventually finding her way to Veld. But later on, General Titus informs Cora that she wasn't Issa's assassin, and that the princess was still alive. But how could have Princess Issa survived? Cora learned the history of the Mother World from the scribes, but one myth captured her imagination. The myth of the Chalice, the Redeemer, the first Princess Issa. As Cora says that the stories of Issa gave her comfort, she even described how Issa would slay her enemies, like how she is slaying the giants in this painting. With Issa powerful enough to go up against giants and have the ability of life-giving, there are theories that Issa might be a supernatural being. With Sam restoring Jimmy's purpose, there's also a theory that Sam could actually be connected to Issa, or that Sam is actually a reincarnation of Issa. But in order to break down these theories, we'll need to go back further in the Rebel Moon timeline, which brings us to the Seneschal, a Rebel Moon podcast set 500 years before the birth of Princess Issa. Long before the Mother World battled the rebel army on Veld, Moa and its colonies were ruled by King Omer. King Omer was considered the Mad King. Ruler of the realm in his time, he was prone to relentless boredom and acting out against his subjects when they displeased him. One day, the governor secured an invitation to the exposition of novelties on Moa for a pair of inventors, where they would present an invention to King Omer. The two inventors, known as Adwin and Rena, crafted an android known as Sabine, a unique android modeled after Rena and designed to anticipate the king's desires. He was quite taken with her, and they won the exposition, earning a hefty reward. However, the king also wanted his way with Rena before allowing them to leave. Weeks passed, and Rena remained at the whim of King Omer. The people of Moa rioted, breaking into the palace. Adwin unleashed his Mechanicus, which quelled the uprising, killing protesters and soldiers alike. Already on Father Gregory's bad side, this also soared Commander Cadius against Adwin. However, King Omer saw Adwin as a man of action and promoted him to the role of his royal seneschal. Father Gregory was an important advisor to King Omer. He looked out for the Mad King's interest, supporting the royal expositions and novelties to bring in artisans from other worlds to try to entertain Omer. Omer grew tired of Gregory's advice with the coming of Adwin, who, as a man of action with incredible skill in his craft, quickly became much more useful to the king. Adwin was promoted to Seneschal, much to Gregory's dismay, and was given Gregory's chambers in the palace. Still a member of Omer's trusted council, Gregory sought to convince the king not to kill innocent women and children when Moa was struck with unrest. He noted the double eclipse's relevance to the prophecy of Issa and told the king of his hopes, but the king and his court were unimpressed. After Rina gave King Omer hope in the prophecy of Issa, Omer tasked Gregory with finding a worthy wife who would bring it to pass. Adwin continued expanding the king's collection of jimmies. Cadius's men were sent outward from Moa while the jimmies took over as protectors of the royal palace. When Father Gregory found a bride for King Omer, Adwin was charged with security for the wedding. A child from the choir approached the king and his new queen in an attempt to assassinate Omer, but the attempt was recognized and prevented by Jimmy 37. Each of the king's main advisors placed the blame on another, but as Adwin was charged of security, the responsibility fell on his shoulders. Omer decided to have him killed, but Queen Velda convinced Omer to exile him instead. Velda revealed herself as Rina to Adwin, keeping his promise to her where he failed and bringing him home. Adwin returned to Saldarin, where he created a new Jimmy to protect Rina and King Omer, which this Jimmy was known as Bartholomew. Adwin gave Bartholomew the archives of Moa, which stretched back 10,000 years, along with an understanding of the prophecy of Issa made by the stargazers over thousands of years. When Bartholomew awakened, he teamed up with Adwin to return to Moa and offer protection to the royal family, agreeing to follow Adwin's plan and surrender to the king. This gave Bartholomew the opportunity to showcase his abilities, drawing out the truth of the attack on the royal wedding and killing Commander Cadius, who orchestrated it. Adwin was then reinstated as Seneschal, and as the birth of the royal child approached, Adwin hatched a plan to assassinate King Omer. Queen Velda's birthing nurse informed Father Gregory that Velda had given birth to a boy rather than the prophesied Issa. Omer was furious to hear that the prophecies he'd come to believe were lies, and beat Velda to death. Sabine had secretly taken her place, so Velda, still pregnant, returned with Bartholomew to witness the scene. Omer was too late to realize his mistake, and Bartholomew, sworn to protect Velda and Issa, killed Omer to defend them, just as Adwin hoped. Later on, Bartholomew would be the one to raise Velda's child, as he knew that Issa would one day return. After listening to Rebel Moon the Seneschal, we know for sure that Issa was around long before the creation of Bartholomew. I do believe that the creation of Bartholomew really connects with the theory of Sam possibly being a reincarnation of Issa, mainly because of what Adwin gave to Bartholomew, along with what would be given to future Jimmies, including the Jimmy in the Rebel Moon films. And I believe with Issa being around for thousands of years, it's highly possible that Issa could be a spiritual being, and even have connections to Twilight of the Gods, which is also canon to Rebel Moon. I'm really invested to see where the story goes with Rebel Moon 3, as the Rebels will start their journey into finding Issa. Plus, we will even learn more about Issa in the future. But let me know down in the comments below of what you guys thought of today's video, or if you have any theories about Princess Issa you would like to share. And as always, like the video, hit the notification bell, and subscribe to the channel if you want more for Rebel Moon Theory. And that is it for today's video. I will see you guys in the next one.